Part 1, the first note. 1. A roof above the end of the world. The first storm of November came crawling over East Yorkshire like a living thing. Hull had always been a cold port city, but this winter was different. The North Sea didn't roar anymore, it hissed, as if the water carried teeth. Wind scraped the high streets clean, shutters rattled across abandoned shop fronts, and the ferry terminals sat dark and frozen. When the power grid collapsed across East England in September, thousands fled inland. Others vanished. The brave ones stayed just long enough to regret it. And then there was Liam Carter, 34, former BBC sound engineer, a man who hated silence more than he hated fear, climbing a frozen fire escape to the roof of the deserted Tesco Extra off Heddon Road. His breath steamed through the broken mask of a balaclava. Snowflakes hit sideways in horizontal sheets. The floodplain below, once an endless parking lot, was now a half-white wasteland, cracked by rivers of salt and oil. In the distance, the Humber estuary churned black under the storm. Liam tightened his grip on his climbing harness and muttered to himself. 21 days. One roof. One rule. Don't fall asleep. He reached the top, hauled himself over the parapet, and kicked the metal ladder backward. It clanged once before plummeting into the snow below. He wasn't up here to enjoy the view. He was hiding. Because every night, at 2:15, a sound broke through the storm. Not wind. Not animals. A whistle, 3 short notes. Perfect pitch. Perfect spacing. Perfect repetition. Nothing human did that. Nothing natural survived this cold long enough to practice it. Liam set down his pack, zipped his coat up to the jawline, and checked his station, a top shelter, a thermal sleeping bag he barely used, and a crate of tinned food. Everything smelled faintly of rust and diesel. Hull had become a graveyard. He was just the man stubborn enough to camp on its tombstone. 2. The whistle. The first time it happened was 3 weeks earlier. Liam had been surveying rooftops to scout wind patterns for a freelance sound project when he heard it, faint, out of place, cutting through the storm like a blade. Twee. 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 3 notes. Minimal vibrato. Almost machine pure. But it wasn't a machine, he'd checked the frequencies. Human lungs could produce those notes, theoretically, but not with that consistency. Not with that precision. And not in the middle of a storm that could freeze exposed skin in 60 seconds. The sound haunted him. Each night he recorded it with his old Samsung phone, watching the waveform with a growing sense of dread. Every whistle was identical down to a microscopic margin. It meant the whistler had no tremors. No breathing variations. No change in mouth shape. Nature didn't behave this way. But someone, or something, wanted to be heard. 3. Day 18. By the 18th night of storms, Liam had memorized the rooftop like muscle memory. The hum of wind through loose antenna rods. The clunk of ice shifting on metal beams. The distant buoy bells on the Humber, wobbling in the gale. And at 2:15, like clockwork. Twee. 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 He jolted awake, nearly knocking over his recorder. The whistle carried across the empty parking lot like a ritual announcement. The pitch was A4, exactly 440.00 Hz. The spacing between notes, 1.5 seconds. No drift. Liam immediately started recording. His fingers shook, not from cold, but from anticipation. He had started to fear he was the only one escalating. That night, he scanned the parking lot with his binoculars. At first, nothing but drifting snow. Then a shape. At the far end of the lot, hanging from a lamp post, was a figure. Frozen. Upside down. Swinging ever so slightly in the wind. Liam's throat closed. He steadied the binoculars. The figure wasn't swaying naturally, its limbs were rigid, frozen solid. A rope tied around the ankles. Frost crusted its clothing. The face was obscured by a thick layer of ice, but the lips. They'd been sewn shut. With wire. No, not wire, piano string. A glint of metal shone from the coat pocket. Liam's stomach dropped. He zoomed in. A message was tucked into the pocket. A torn piece of an old map. A single sentence scrawled across it in red pen. "You are the seventh roof this winter." Liam staggered backward, breath sputtering. He wasn't just hearing a signal. He was being counted. 4, Night 22, the choir arrives. The 22nd night broke every rule he thought he understood. The whistle changed. It came earlier, at 2 o'clock exactly. 3 sharp notes. 4 seconds of silence. 3 long notes. A pattern. A code. As the last long note vibrated through the floodplain, Liam raised his binoculars with trembling hands. And saw them. 8 figures, dressed in black Royal Navy cold-weather jackets, hoods up, each standing perfectly still in a circular formation in the center of the parking lot. Then, simultaneously, all 8 lifted their heads. And whistled. Not staggered. Not chaotic. Perfectly synchronized. The sound was so precisely tuned that the windshield of a nearby abandoned Ford Focus shattered into a burst of crystalline shards. Liam dropped the binoculars. These weren't scavengers. They weren't lost civilians. They were a choir, using sound like a weapon. 5. The mark. By sunrise, the worst of the storm had passed, leaving a ghost-white quiet across the ruined cityscape. Liam stepped outside his makeshift tent and froze. Someone had visited his roof. In the center of the tar paper surface, painted in dark semi-frozen blood, was a perfect circle, 3 meters in diameter. The blood had thickened in the cold, turning into a dark red crust. And at the circle's center sat a pocket watch. Old brass. Engraved edges. Stopped at 2:15. The exact time the whistle normally began. Liam crouched, chest pounding. He didn't dare touch the watch. He only stared. The choir not only knew he was here, they knew his routine. They were marking his location. His habits. His time. He felt the cold finally reach inside his bones. 6. The warning. On the 29th day, a small, folded scrap of paper landed on his rooftop with a sharp thwop. Liam scanned the horizon, no one. But someone had fired it from somewhere with a rubber sling. Old school. Silent. He picked it up cautiously. 3 sentences, scrawled with a trembling hand. Leave before the 1st of December. Walk south at the last whistle. We are friend. We are friend. Broken grammar. Someone not used to writing. Or someone writing in panic. Liam's fingers tightened around the note. He didn't trust it, but he had no other leads. So that night, he launched his custom drone. A tiny, battered quadcopter with a hacked GoPro, and an LED he'd removed to cut visibility. At 1:50, he sent it silently drifting across the abandoned industrial district. At 2 o'clock, it spotted movement. 2 groups. 1, the choir. 9 this time. Moving in perfect silent formation, each carrying suppressed weapons. Their steps rhythmically spaced. Their heads turning together like metronomes. The other, just 3 people. A large bearded man in a torn parka. A scarred woman with a limp. And a shivering girl no more than 12. The trio carried no guns. Only flares and a hand torch. They were drawing patterns in the snow, warning markers. They were watching the choir from a distance. Trying to protect him. Liam's jaw clenched. He killed the drone's feed. He had seen enough. 7. The last night on the roof. November 30th. Liam didn't sleep. At 2 hours 14 minutes and 56 seconds, the coldest wind of the winter swept across the Tesco roof. The air tasted metallic, like breathing in a broken battery. He waited. 4 seconds later, right on schedule, the whistle came. Twee. 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 Except it was wrong. Too close. Too sharp. Too loud. It was coming from below. He glanced over the edge. 11 figures in black stood in the car park below, their faces hidden behind wool balaclavas, each one staring directly up at him. And then the nearest one raised something small, metallic, and tossed it lightly onto the snow. A grenade. Not fragmentation, smoke. But smoke meant one thing. They wanted him alive. Liam didn't think. He sprinted, crossed the rooftop, and leapt the gap onto the adjacent Hull Brewery building. The second his boots hit the other roof. Boom! The Tesco roof exploded into a volcanic burst of smoke, fire, and freezing debris. The blast wave rolled through the air, knocking Liam onto his knees. The choir was flushing him. Herding him. Steering him. Toward what? He didn't have the luxury to wonder. He ran. 8. The escape. An hour later, Liam crouched under an overhang at the brewery, lungs burning from smoke and cold. His coat was scorched at the shoulder. His recorder was cracked. He was half frozen and shaking too badly to trust his own hands. But he was alive. Footsteps crunched softly nearby. He grabbed a brick. Not a weapon, but better than nothing. A voice whispered. Don't throw that, mate. You'll embarrass yourself. A woman stepped into view. Tall. Broad shoulders. Scar across her neck. Cold blue eyes. Freya Shaw. Behind her stood the bearded man from the drone feed, Cal, and the frightened girl clutching a toy fox. We've been trying to get you off that damn roof for a week, Freya said. Liam swallowed. Who are you? Survivors, Cal rumbled. But if you want to stay that way, you need to run. Now? Freya grabbed his wrist. The choir knows you're the one. They won't stop. Liam stared at her, stunned. The one what? Freya's voice lowered to a whisper. The one they've been timing. Part 2, the choir arrives, the false note. 1. A boat that shouldn't be running. Liam followed Freya and Cal through the frozen maze of Hull's industrial docks, breath fogging in sharp bursts. The sky pulsed with aurora-like streaks, winter lights that hadn't been seen in England for decades. They cast a faint, ghostly glow over the derelict warehouses and iced-over cranes. Freya moved silently despite her limp, her hand gripping Liam's arm like a steel vice. We don't have long, she muttered. They'll regroup. They? Liam whispered. Freya gave him a sharp look. The choir. Jonah Vale and his disciples. Cal's gravel-deep voice added, and if they marked your roof, lad, that means you're the season's 7th. The 7th what? Liam asked. Later, Freya said. Boat first. Cal stopped at a rusted trawler half buried in ice. Its name, Hawthorne, was barely visible under salt-blasted paint. But its diesel engine still rumbled with a low, stubborn growl. Liam stared. How is that thing even running? There's no fuel left in half the city. Cal smirked. Because I'm the only man alive who knows how to coax an engine back from the dead. Freya climbed aboard first, pulling the girl up. Liam hesitated. What's her name? He asked quietly. The girl clung to a threadbare fox plush. Her voice cracked as she answered. Elsie. Liam nodded gently. I'm Liam. Elsa's small hand tightened protectively around Freya's sleeve. Is the Whistler coming? Freya didn't answer. She just pointed to the horizon. The storm was shifting. They needed to move. 2. Hull in blackout. The Hawthorn pushed off, breaking through thin ice sheets like glass. The river was an ink-black vein through a dead city. Street lights had been off for months. Ferries were lodged against the banks, half-sunk, covered in snow-heavy tarps. Liam watched the frozen skyline, realizing with a strange hollowness. He might never see Hull again. Freya joined him at the bow, her breath hanging silver in the air. You lasted 21 days alone on that roof, she said. That's not normal. I know how to listen, Liam murmured. Sound doesn't lie. It does, Freya whispered. In the wrong hands, sound kills. Liam's jaw tightened. The choir, they're using whistles like a language. They're ex-North Sea operatives, Freya said. Jonah used to train people to communicate over storms. Whistles. Clicks. Low-frequency hums. He turned it into doctrine. And now he's hunting me because. You heard their pattern, she said. And you didn't look away. He hates those who hear him and resist. Liam exhaled cold frustration. That's it. I listened. Freya's eyes hardened. No. He hunts people who break the cycle. Jonah runs the winter reclaiming ritual, one roof, one survivor, per storm season. They pick isolated rooftops across East Yorkshire. If the target flees the wrong direction, the choir tracks them and. She glanced at Elsie. And they make an example. Liam felt his blood go cold. But you three, he said slowly. You're trying to stop him. We are trying to save the last ones on his list, Freya said. We save who we can. And bury who we can't. Liam swallowed thickly. Why me? Cal's voice boomed from behind them. Because you recorded the whistle. No one else does that. Freya nodded. Jonah knows you understand sound. That makes you dangerous. 3. Humber Bridge, the ambush. The Hawthorn slid under the frozen arches of the Humber Bridge. Sheets of hanging ice glittered like knives suspended from the steel belly overhead. Liam's sense of dread sharpened. The wind had stopped. The river's surface had gone eerily smooth. Why are we slowing? Liam asked. Cal didn't answer. Because the sky did. A sharp mechanical hum pierced the quiet. Freya's head snapped up. Drone. Liam instinctively ducked as a black quadcopter glided silently over the deck, its lenses shimmering with blue lights. Then another. Then 2 more. 4 total, moving in a diamond formation. And then, they whistled. Perfectly. The exact 3-note pattern Liam had heard for 21 nights. Cal cursed. Bloody hell. They are broadcasting Jonah's signal. They've been upgraded. Freya pulled her suppressed sidearm. Cal, hold course. Elsie screamed and grabbed Liam as the drones dipped lower. Freya fired, PTFFT PTFFT, and one drone cracked, spiraling into the river. But the others responded instantly. Their pitch shifted. A higher whistle. Liam's ears ached. The pressure punched into his skull like an ice pick. Cover your ears, he shouted. Too late. A crack echoed from starboard, a bullet slicing into the ice near Freya's boots. Sniper. From the bridge. Down. Freya yelled. They dove as a second bullet whizzed overhead. Freya grabbed Elsie protectively. Liam crawled behind a coil of frozen rope, heart hammering. Where are they firing from? Top right pylon. Cal yelled. One shooter. Not one, Freya corrected. Her eyes turned to steel. 3. A third drone swooped down, landing on the deck with insect-like clicks. Its lead flickered red, targeting mode. Freya raised her pistol. But the shot fired first. A clean, surgical crack. And Elsie, little Elsie, jerked back as a blossom of frost puffed from her coat. Her eyes widened in shock. She fell silently. Liam felt the world stop. Freya screamed, a sound so raw it tore the air. Cal fired the boat's emergency flare directly at the drone. The flare ignited mid-air, blowing the drone apart in molten shrapnel. But the damage was done. Elsie lay motionless on the deck. Freya collapsed beside her, trembling so violently she couldn't hold the girl's small hand steady. "Elsie, sweetheart, Elsie," her voice cracked into pieces. Liam knelt beside them, breath shuddering. He checked for a pulse. Cold. Still. She was gone before she hit the deck. 4. Jonah Vale's voice. The remaining drone hovered 5 meters away, stabilizing. Its speaker crackled. Then came a voice, calm, unsettlingly soft, with the cadence of a pastor whispering a bedtime prayer. "Jonah Vale." "Liam Carter," the voice said warmly. "Thank you for leaving your roof. It saves us time." Liam stiffened. Freya raised her head slowly, rage carved into every tense muscle in her jaw. "You bastard," she whispered. Jonah's voice continued as if he hadn't heard her. "Tonight's lesson, all signals must be answered. The next roof is yours." The drone tilted, as if bowing. Then it whistled. 3 notes. Slow. Precise. Final. And the sniper fire stopped. The drone rose into the night like a black moth and vanished beyond the ice fog. Freya pressed her forehead to Elsa's. Cal stood at the helm, gripping the wheel with white knuckles, eyes glistening with restrained fury. Liam's heart broke in a quiet, splintering way. He whispered to the frozen river, "I won't be the next roof." 5. Freya's breaking point. They wrapped Elsa's small body in a thermal blanket and laid her gently at the stern. Snowflakes collected on the fabric like a second burial. Freya sat frozen beside her for over an hour. Liam didn't dare interrupt. The wind was rising again, fast. "Cal," Liam said softly, "we have to move." "I know," Cal muttered. "But let the woman grieve. That girl followed her for weeks." Liam nodded, torn between urgency and respect. Finally Freya stood. When she spoke, her voice was hoarse but steady. "We take her with us. Until we reach land." Cal nodded silently. Freya turned to Liam. "I need you to understand something." Liam met her eyes. "Elsie died because they wanted you scared," Freya said. "They are pushing you into a pattern, the same pattern the others followed. They want you moving south at 2:15. "I'm not going south," Liam said. "I'm not following their cycle." Freya put a hand on his shoulder, gripping harder than necessary. "Good. Because the only direction they don't anticipate." She pointed east, toward the black, icy mouth of the North Sea. "Is the one that kills most people." Liam exhaled shakily. "So we go to sea. We go where Jonah won't expect the 7th roof to run," Freya said. "And then we find a place he doesn't control." Cal rumbled, "Lindisfarne." Freya nodded. "A holy island," she explained. "Only reachable at low tide. Only defendable in winter." "And Jonah?" Liam asked. Her eyes hardened to ice. "Jonah will come. The choir always finishes the winter cycle." Liam felt a chill cut deeper than the wind. "Why do they call you 3, friend?" he asked. "Because we are the only ones who ever escaped," Freya said quietly. "And because Jonah wants us alive long enough to watch the others die." 6. December Eve, the false note. The last day of November fell over the Humber like a shroud. The boat drifted close to Grimsby's frozen jetty so Cal could siphon fuel from abandoned trawlers. Liam stood watch with Freya on the bow. A soft whistle drifted across the docks. Not Jonah's pattern. 3 notes, but imperfect. Off-key. Human. Liam turned. Someone else. Freya shook her head. No. This is bait. A small paper scrap glided down from above, caught by a gust of wind. Liam snatched it mid-air. Same handwriting as before. Last chance. Last whistle. South equals safe. Freya growled, they are trying to funnel your escape. They want you to run exactly where Jonah expects. So we go north, Liam said. Freya smiled grimly. Now you're learning. 7. The Ritual of 2:15. That night, the river froze solid around the Hawthorn. Liam sat on deck with his broken recorder, fingers numb but determined. He tuned the gain manually, twisting knobs with careful precision. Cal stepped out of the cabin. Storm's coming. Liam nodded. Freya emerged last. She was pale, jaw clenched tight. She wore Elsa's knitted scarf wrapped around her forearm like a vow. At 2 hours 14 minutes and 56 seconds, the night went silent. Liam's breath stopped. 4 seconds later. Twee. 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 Freya hissed, brace. The river echoed with distant footsteps. Figures, silhouettes, moving across the frozen Humber. The choir. 11 of them. Jonah at the center. Liam felt every instinct scream at him to run south. Instead, he grabbed Freya's arm. We go east, he said. Now? Freya's eyes widened, proud. They leapt into action. Cal floored the engine. The Hawthorn groaned, shattered through the ice, and surged toward open sea. Behind them, Jonah Vale raised a hand. The choir whistled. The same 3 notes. But this time, Liam understood. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't a threat. It was a countdown. The winter hunt had begun. Part 3, Blood Tide, the final choir. 1. The River of Knives. The Hawthorn broke through the frozen Humber like a wounded animal. Blocks of ice slammed into the hull as the boat fought its way toward open sea. The wind turned vicious, shrieking across the deck ropes like a violin bow dragged against steel. Liam gripped the railing until his knuckles whitened. The whistle still echoed behind them, faint now, but unmistakable. Jonah's signal. The beginning of the hunt. Freya stood beside him, scarf whipping violently around her arm. They'll hunt us to the coast, she said. Then across it. Cal growled, hands locked around the wheel. We need to hit deep water before they get eyes on us. Liam stared back toward the bridge. On the frozen expanse, 11 figures moved in a perfect formation, like chess pieces sliding on invisible rails. The choir. Hoods up. Faces dark. Gait identical. Jonah walked at the center, unhurried, coat flaring like a black sail. Liam forced himself to turn away. Their voices no longer carried across the river, but somehow, the silence was worse. 2. The drones return. They hit the mouth of the estuary by dawn. Snow drifted sideways across the deck in soft, relentless sheets. The cold crept through Liam's coat, as if it had learned his name. Freya watched Liam tune his damaged recorder, moving knobs carefully with nearly frostbitten fingers. You're really going to record him? She asked. Liam didn't look up. If Jonah kills by pattern, then breaking the pattern might kill him. Cal scoffed. Or it'll kill you faster. I'll take that risk, Liam said. Freya's expression softened. You're not the 7th roof, because you're unlucky. You're the seventh because you're the first one who ever listened back. Before Liam could answer, a mechanical hum sliced across the wind. Freya's head jerked up. Incoming. Through the swirling snow, 2 drones emerged, not 4 like before, but bigger. Military grade. Cold lights pulsing along their carbon frames. Cal swore under his breath. They are not scouting. They are guiding. Guiding what? Liam asked. Freya's answer came too late. A flare erupted from the cliffside to port, bright red flame bursting like a star. A signal. For who? For what? The drone split, sweeping wide arcs around the trawler. Then Liam heard it. Twee. 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 From both drones, overlapping, harmonizing. A triangulation tone. Brace. Freya barked. A sniper's crack ripped through the air. The bullet smashed into a crate beside Liam, exploding splinters across his face. Bridge. Freya shouted, pointing. On the frozen footpath of the Spurn Point Causeway, a sniper stood behind an overturned grit bin, hood up, rifle steady. The shot had been a warning. The next would not be. Cal jerked the wheel. The trawler veered sharply, hull grinding against ice. Hold on. The drones descended. Freya fired, striking one in the rotor. It spun wildly but recovered, letting out a high-pitched whistle so sharp Liam's ears popped. Sound weapon, he shouted. Down. They dropped as the whistle hit them, a physical impact that sent Liam's vision swimming. His hands scrambled over the recorder, instinctively switching to noise-cancelling mode. Cal fought the wheel, gritting his teeth. We can't take another hit. Freya crawled to Liam, blood dripping from her nose. Liam, stop the whistle. I can't stop it, he gasped. But I can answer it. He adjusted the recorder, rewinding Jonah's own 3-note pattern, the one Liam captured from the Tesco roof nights earlier. The real one. He hit play. A mirrored whistle echoed through the storm. The drones shuddered. Their lights flickered. They lost balance and spiraled sideways, crashing into the ice with a hiss of sparks. Freya stared at him with genuine awe. You broke their signal. Liam wiped blood from his lip. No. I just gave them one they didn't expect. Cal yelled, hold tight. We are hitting open water. 3. The dead girl's warning. Hours later, the Humber gave way to the harsh expanse of the North Sea. The waves rose like black walls, throwing the Hawthorn in violent arcs. Freya's face was pale from exhaustion and blood loss. She kept Elsa's little fox plush tucked under her jacket like a fragile truth she didn't dare release. Liam sat beside her as she stared at the sea. She was trying to whistle back, Freya whispered suddenly. Liam frowned. Elsie. She wanted to learn the pattern. Said it made her feel brave. Freya's throat tightened. I taught her to run from sound, not mimic it. I failed her. You saved her more times than anyone ever could, Liam said gently. Freya shook her head. I should have killed Jonah when I had the chance. Cal stomped down from the cabin. We are nearing landing. Tides are shifting. If we are crossing to Lindisfarne, it has to be tonight. Liam nodded. Then let's move. Freya stood. But Liam noticed something. Her scarf, wrapped around her arm, was soaked. Not with seawater. With blood. Freya, you're hurt. She looked at him, tired but resolved. Jonah didn't let me go. He marked me. Liam froze. He whistled into your ear, didn't he? Freya nodded slowly. That's how he chooses who follows him, willingly or not. Liam's stomach twisted. He turned you into a beacon. Freya closed her eyes. I know. 4. The Holy Island. Lindisfarne rose out of the frozen North Sea like a myth, half monastery, half ruin, held together by a millennium of salt and time. The tide was low enough to reveal the causeway, a thin strip of ice-covered road connecting island to mainland. Cal anchored the Hawthorn behind a cluster of rocks. The three of them moved toward the ruins, each step crunching through brittle frost. Freya led them to the old priory tower, crumbling, roofless, but defensible. "This is where we hold," she said. Liam touched the ancient stone, feeling its cold sear into his fingertips. "What makes this place special?" "Sound travels strangely here," Freya answered. "The ruins break it. Scatter it." Liam understood immediately. He moved quickly, stringing the 6 salvaged speakers they'd scavenged over their journey. Tiny, pathetic devices compared to the choir's gear, but connected to the recorder, they could broadcast Jonah's own signals back out. Cal built makeshift barricades. Freya positioned herself at the entrance, hand pressed to her bleeding scarf-wrapped arm. Snow thickened. The wind died. Then, from the causeway. Twee. 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 Liam froze. "They are here." 5. The final choir. Through the storm, silhouettes appeared. One by one, 11 figures crossed the icy road, footsteps synchronized. Jonah walked at the front. His face was uncovered now, pale, gaunt, expression serene. Eyes like winter. A man consumed by ritual. "Liam Carter," he called softly. His voice carried impossibly far. "This winter's final roof." Freya raised her gun. "Not today." Jonah smiled like a disappointed teacher. "Freya Shaw. You should not have brought him here. You of all people know the rules." Freya stepped forward, trembling with fury. "I don't follow your rules anymore." Jonah lifted 2 fingers. The choir fanned out in perfect formation. "Begin," he whispered. The first volley came as a harmonic whistle, 12 voices in unison, each at a different pitch. Liam shouted, "Cover your ears." The sound struck the priory walls, shuddering through the stone. Freya fell to one knee, gripping her head. Cal staggered, nearly dropping behind cover. Liam scrambled to the recorder. "Come on," he whispered. "Come on." He hit play. 6 speakers around the ruins blasted Jonah's old whistle, inverted phase, reversed pitch, playing backward at a calculated frequency drop. 2 opposing waves collided. The air shook. Snow lifted from the ground in spirals. The stone walls groaned. 4 choir members staggered backward, losing formation. One dropped his rifle and collapsed. Jonah's expression shifted, startled for the first time. "You broke the note," he murmured. Liam stepped forward, voice hoarse. "You can't control sound if you don't understand it." Jonah's eyes narrowed. "Then I suppose we return to older rituals." He drew a knife, long, thin, ceremonial. "Freya," he said gently, "come." Freya spat blood. "Come take me." She charged. 6. Freya versus Jonah. They collided inside the bell tower ruins, steel flashing in the half-light. Jonah moved with terrifying precision, every strike efficient, minimal, a man trained to end fights quickly. Freya moved like a wounded animal refusing to die, faster, angrier, each blow fueled by Elsa's memory. They crashed into fallen stones, breath steaming, knives sparking against rock. Jonah slashed Freya's side. Freya drove her knife into his shoulder. Both cried out. Jonah whispered 3 sharp notes, a personal signal. Freya froze for half a heartbeat. That was all Jonah needed. He plunged his knife into her abdomen. Freya's eyes widened in shock, then hardened. She grabbed Jonah by his coat, yanked him toward the tower edge, and slit his throat. He fell back, stumbling, blood misting in the winter air. Freya collapsed to her knees. 7. Cal's last stand. Outside, Cal faced the remaining choir with nothing but a flare gun and a steel pipe. He fired a flare into one man's chest. It burst into blinding red light, staggering 2 others. But the choir pressed in. Cal roared, slamming his pipe into the nearest attacker. He parried a knife, battered another man to the ground. Then a bullet struck him. Cal fell, dropping to one knee, but he grabbed the gas cylinder he'd hidden, teeth gritted against pain. "Liam," he shouted. "Now?" Liam dove behind cover, as Cal slammed the cylinder into the ground, sparks igniting the leaking gas. A roaring explosion tore through the priory entrance, sending choir bodies tumbling into the sea. The bell tower shook. Snow and stone crumbled. 8. Collapse. The explosion rocked the tower where Freya knelt over Jonah's dying body. She looked up at Liam, blood pouring from her wounds. "You have to finish it," she whispered. Liam reached her, catching her as she fell. "No, Freya, stay with me." But she shook her head. "Break the last pattern." Her eyes softened. "For Elsie." Then she went still. Liam pressed his forehead against hers for one trembling second. Then the tower collapsed. He ran. The ice bridge leading back to the beach shattered under the explosion's shockwave. Liam leaped, grabbing a jagged stone as the tower fell behind him, Jonah's body disappearing into the freezing waves. 9. Dawn. Liam awoke on a pile of rubble, snow drifting gently across his coat. The storm had passed. The North Sea glowed pale gold under the rising sun. Freya. Cal. Elsie. Gone? He was the only one left standing. He crawled toward the edge of the ruins, where the icy water surged softly against the rocks. Something glinted in the rising light. A pocket watch. Jonah's. Liam picked it up. 2:15.